What's going on, Badger Nation? My name is Michael Erickson Facchin. I'm your ACOS weatherman today, September 25th, 2023, and this is your ACOS Weather Report presented by iBadger.com. In case you are new around here and you're curious what the ACOS Weather Report is, it's just an opportunity to look at a cross section of the Amazon market, Amazon advertising market, where we look at about 1% of the marketplace is doing a significant amount of sales so that you can compare yourself to those trends. So you can see if you're riding up, riding down a wave, what is the overall wave that your ship is in? What is it doing? Trending up, trending downwards. You can find out how you compare to others. We also have another piece of content every week, which is the PPC Then podcast, where we get more strategic and tactical about growing your PPC sales on Amazon, as well as your improving your overall Amazon marketing. So if you want to be like this kid and take a peek at what your competitors are doing, you are in the right spot. So what is that ACOS weather? I would say that it's about a 65-degree day, partly sunny, better than last week. Nice, a little bit warmer than last week, which is nice, a little bit more pleasant than last week. It is not perfect weather, and we still need to be cautious because I don't love every single metric coming out. So I have a longer summary here, but let's actually take a look at some of the raw data. This is our second ACOS weather report. So if you'd like me to post this data anywhere so that you can download it, run your own level of analysis, that will be totally cool. Just let me know and I will send it to you. So let's take a look here. Conversion rate had a slight drop in the past week, but it's sort of balanced by a higher revenue per click. So what does that mean? You can see we had a couple days of lower conversion rate than normal. September 21st, 9.0, 9.1, 9.0, 9.9 on September 16th. Compare that to sort of days in early September where we were looking at 9.9, 9.8, 9.5, 9.7. We had a 9.0, 9.1, 9.6, 9.4. So you can see that the conversion rate trended downwards a little bit in week 38 compared to previous weeks in September. However, when we look at our stats for revenue per click, you can see that our revenue per click is actually a little bit higher over the last few days. Last week, revenue per click was better than the previous. So this is revenue per click. This is how much revenue was generated by the amount of clicks there were. So you can see here the peak in the previous sort of week over here, mid-September. You can see that mid-September was a little bit soft, and now our revenue per click almost every day was a little bit higher than the previous week. We had a little dip over here on September 16th and 17th. And actually, what day of the week was that? Calendar September 2023. The 16th and 17th were weekends. Yes. So good to know there. Weekends are always a little bit softer. And when we look at the average ACOS over the last few weeks too, you can see our most recent week lower than the previous as well. So you can see this is a 30% average ACOS. And what we get here is pretty much every day over last week was under that 30% sort of typical average, whereas in the previous week, it was a little bit closer to 30%. So hopefully your ACOS trended downward and your revenue per click went up. Oddly enough, the conversion rate did not go up. The conversion rate actually fell slightly this week compared to the previous week. So it's kind of a strange situation where, the average ACOS went down slightly. The revenue per click went up slightly, but why on earth did conversion rate go down? So it's like you have conversion rate and ACOS and revenue per click, which normally trends in the same way. So like revenue per click goes up, you would expect that to be a result of a higher conversion rate, which improve your ACOS. Here we just saw revenue per click and an ACOS improvement. So what does that actually mean? We'll sort of hypothesize that in a second. But for now, just a quick run through of the data. Conversion rate, slight drop, balanced by a slightly higher revenue per click. What was the average revenue per click? It's about $3.27 last week compared to $3.22 in the previous week. So that should go up a couple cents, which is nice. The average cost per click, mostly stable. Average CTR, mostly stable. Click-through rate, slight increase for sponsored products. Average ACOS was going up, but thankfully decreased in the last week. So You can pause here, and if you want to see any of this data, we have conversion rate overall. We have the CPC for the 3 main ad types. We have the click-through rate for the 4 main ad types as well. Click-through rate for sponsored display is, of course, half of what it is for sponsored brands. Really interesting. Sponsored brand click-through rate be much higher than sponsored products, which is really cool to see. In terms of ACOS, I say this all the time. ACOS on sponsored products and sponsored brands is kind of similar. So you can see here, 28, 36, that's a little bit of a jump. So there's normally like a 5-point difference between these two. They sort of trend together, which is kind of cool to see. So I always try to say, like, sponsored brands, if you have no sponsored brands, you could probably launch it and have it be at a similar ACOS to your sponsored products. And if you have $10,000 of revenue from sponsored products, you can probably launch sponsored brands and be at 15,000 or 13,000. You can get 30% of what you're doing from sponsored products, your sponsored brands. Sponsored display. Your ACOSs might not look like this because here we are reporting click-based ACOS only. Sponsored display, click-based ACOS. Again, not too crazy in the sense of like sponsored display. There's a good argument there that the goal of sponsored display isn't necessarily direct ROAS or ACOS, but you can see that the ACOS for sponsored display is incredibly high. So what does all of this mean? Here's my overall takeaway. Higher quality but fewer conversions. The fact that revenue per click was increasing and ACOS was decreasing, but conversion rate went down. How does that happen, right? It sort of indicates that people are being more intentional when they buy, meaning some products that would have a low conversion rate just aren't happening at all. So like some of the better, higher converting products are going, and some of the weaker, lower converting products are not being purchased. So I think that's pretty interesting. Shift in buyer behavior. Could it signal a shift in buyer behavior towards more considered, higher value purchases than impulse buys? For sure, I think there's some more discernment among customers as they make their searches. So it's possible maybe these lower tier products that maybe don't have the most favorable reviews are being discerned over more than products that, when discerned over, end up converting better. So that's pretty interesting. Constantly playing with ad position and visibility. So it's possible that some of the ad types incentivize more clicks with a lower conversion rate. So sort of more browsability. So as more ads go into existence, as there's more ads on the page, that's going to get more browse-based ads, thus lowering conversion rate. So like we see more sponsored display today, we see more sponsored brands today, which are kind of browsing type ads, which is great because it should boost overall revenue, but that could lead to a lower conversion rate. So sort of an interesting week. Hopefully your revenue per click increased as well. Hopefully your ACOS went down last week compared to the previous week. But overall, let me know if you have any questions on this ACOS weather report. This is new. I love checking in on this to get a pulse check of how things are progressing in Amazon advertising. If you want to check this out, we will be publishing this most Mondays. So be sure to subscribe to our email list, our YouTube, our Facebook, our LinkedIn, or our Twitter, which is where we'll be posting these. So thank you so much for tuning into the ACOS Weather Report. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like to include in the ACOS Weather Report, and I'll see you next week here on the PPC Den ACOS Weather Report.